It's the big budget made-for-TV movie starring Brittany Murphy, where a psychotic murderer is killing off the virgins of the local high school in Cherry Falls. And today, Coop, BP and I are discussing the good, the bad and the ugly of this hidden divisive gem. This is the Complete Guide to Horror Movies podcast.
Welcome back, stalkers, friends, and reprobates to the Complete Guide to Horror Movies podcast. Today we're going back in time and covering 2000 TV movie Cherry Falls, starring Brittany Murphy, rest in peace, and directed by Geoffrey Wright, Australian director and screenplay writer, best known for Romper Stomper. I'm Coop, and as ever, I am joined by my esteemed co-hosts, Justin and Byron. How we doing?
Yeah, all right.
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Alrighty. I'm going to start off by saying, good Lord, this movie did not age well. I hadn't seen this movie since I was like 10 or 11. I do actually remember it being good, which was a shocking wake-up call when I rewatched this movie.
I like to rent happy movies and have a happy time. Relaxing, romantic comedies, chick flicks.
You can tell how heavily influenced by Scream and the slasher boom of the 90s this movie was. At times it reminded me of Valentine, and sorry Justin, not in a good way.
Bite me, it's definitely for you.
Clunky script, some very bad acting, pacing all over the place, awkward transitions, and storyline progression that didn't make a lick of sense at times.
Okay, this is hysterical. Classic.
Characters didn't know how they were meant to feel about each other, and this made for some very awkward and at times creepy moments.
I don't need some stupid kid's sex party.
I'm sorry, but I think this might be my rest stop, my April Fool's Day. This is my... So here we are. Let's dive in. Now that I have already buried this movie, Byron, dare I ask, thoughts?
Oh, Coop. I didn't know, because we all choose one, so I presume we think it's going to be good. And like I said, it's so hard when you've watched something years or decades ago and then go, oh, is this going to be good? Look, first time, it was like, what the fuck?
It's right up there with global warming.
Second time, it was still a what the fuck. But I had a lot more fun in like the last 10 minutes of the movie. That was like my favorite part of it. As you said, very dated. A lot of bad CGI. The ending scene was horrific with the red transition of Cherry Falls. Like you said, very clunky script. It did jump all over the place. Things didn't really make sense. I did really like Brittany Murphy in this.
Everyone has their own taste in films, so I guess it just depends on what you're into. But these are some of my favorites. Okay. Oh, The Shining we have. Shrek!
I called it stabbing orgy scene. Was hilarious. Just that whole shit that went down with him coming in and slashing away.
I'm gonna slash and gash, cut another hole in your ass. I spill blood on the walls, then play tennis with your balls.
I'd say it's probably one of your worst picks, but like it was still good to watch. I'd never seen it before, so it was interesting, and I really did like that little sort of country town, well not country town, that little sort of what do you call it, like Scream with Willsboro. Is it Willsboro?
The Midwest, whatever.
Yeah, that sort of feel. It had potential. It's just obviously a late 90s production and feel.
Caution. The show you're about to see is headed for disaster.
Justin, I know you seem happy with my choice. This may be a movie we watched years back. I can't really remember.
I can't remember if we did either, because I know we watched a lot of Wes Craven, a lot of 90s, early 2000s one, but I have a soft spot for Cherry Falls, and hear me out. To me, this is the perfect example of that weird, awkward transition from 90s to the 2000s. Like, this just has no production design at all. I mean, even the killer, I was like, fuck, I don't remember Marilyn Manson in this. And then, and then just like, To me, it reminds me so much of, as you mentioned, Valentine. It reminds me of The Faculty. It reminds me, most of all, it actually reminds me of The Shining, the TV version, where it's like the 4-hour miniseries.
Yeah.
And it was so fucking bad. Like, like, the original Shining, the little kid's creepy with his like, red room over there. And then in the TV version, it's a full fucking nerd. That's the scary ghost or whatever that he sees.
Honey, you're scaring me.
I know, Doc.
And this movie is just like that. But at the same time, I love those type of movies. I will sit down and I will watch it and be like, what the fuck is going on? I don't understand. First of all, the whole thing with the plot about why he's targeting virgins in the first place is so fucking stupid. I'm like, ooh, it's anti-horror movie because usually the virgin survives to the end.
Well, what are we supposed to tell our kids? To go out and get laid if they want to feel safe? No, I'm not saying that.
I can't lock my daughter up in the basement.
Will I watch this again? Yes, I will. And that's all I'm going to say.
For favorite parts of this movie, I thought Jane Mohr, who ends up being the killer, the son of Laura Lee Sherman, I thought they did an all right job. I thought that at least the first time I saw it, I thought that character was pretty unsuspecting. It was almost like the kind of quirky, nerdy teacher, almost like a comedic aspect to it, leading up to before anything happens. I thought was kind of, he's just a bit strange.
Naturally, you're all horrified by the sudden and senseless loss of your classmates. Perhaps some of you feel guilty that you weren't nicer to Rod and Stacy while they were alive, or maybe you're, haunted by something unpleasant you might have said to one of them.
I thought he did a really good job, and with the transition to, them being a complete psycho, I thought he played that part really well. I thought that was, really good. He fully drove himself into that role. Brittany Murphy was a really good actor. There was a few weird bits, but I mean, pretty much every character in this movie had like some stunted or shitty script to deal with and trying to work their way around.
With ANTM TV, is Fashion Week in Paris, can you say magnetic? Just keep going. Charismatic?
So I'd say for the most part, probably like the best thing about it is just sort of the some high points with some of the acting, but that's really about it.
Do you think that that's how it is?
One thing I laughed at, which I really found funny, was the scene. I think it might be in this scene, or it might be in the school where I wrote Ozzy Osbourne on the run. And then it likens to the scene in White Chicks where the bag gets stolen. And then one of the Wayland brothers is running down the street, and they're like, "Whoa, he's fast." That's what I thought of. It literally might have been that. That was hilarious.
Yeah. Geez, lady, all that for a bag?
It's not just a bag. It's Prada.
I loved the last scene where they were, all trying to have sex in the cabin or whatever, and he comes in and he's like, "Plaster Smith," and then starts like slash it up. And then there was a hilarious scene where he falls out the window, falls on the fence paling. And then the guy that your left, Brittany Murphy's into, he goes over to check the body, and then he's like, and then the cop has two guns, and she's like, and there's like 50,000 bullets that she's shooting. That was actually really hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that. And like I said, I like that kind of small town, like campy feel. I guess it could have been a really good film if they finessed it a bit more. I like that sort of feel. Maybe even a bit like it's the one that we did 2009 with Megan Fox.
Jennifer's Body.
Yeah, that kind of like town feel. It kind of reminded me of that, like with the falls and stuff like that. I really like that. If it could be finessed a bit more.
People died, Jennifer. It's like all over the news. National news.
Anybody that we know?
We know everyone.
I agree with both of you. I'm also going to praise this movie for its creativity. if you told me that there was a horror movie in the late 90s where a man dresses as his mum to kill a bunch of virgins who are having an orgy, I'd be like, what fucking movie are you talking about? This is so weird. I need to see this.
You mean the one who wears makeup and dresses like a woman?
How'd you know?
But, you know, I do think it does quite set itself apart. Yes, it takes a lot of inspiration and creative freedom from like Scream, Urban Legend. But I also want to say, this movie, I think, was the inspiration for plots for Urban Legend's Final Cut, which was released a year afterwards. In that movie, the teacher was the killer. This movie, the teacher's the killer. Yeah. And there was another movie, and I can't fucking remember what it was now, but it was also released after this, where I'm like, oh, no, that was it. Urban Legends 3, Bloody Mary. So it's like that same type of small town movie, but in Urban Legends Bloody Mary, the whole thing was around that they had raped and killed this woman, and then she was Bloody Mary in the end or whatever. And like, to me, that's like a plot part in this movie, and I'm like, oh, I've seen this in a movie that was released 6 years afterwards. But yeah, definitely give it points for creativity. Every other part I'm gonna say for least favorite parts.
Least favorite parts, like I mentioned, the script was terrible.
This is a joke, right? I mean, this is the stupidest thing I've ever read.
What's wrong with it?
Well, you keep using words like Paschetti and Mamados. You make numerous threatening references to the UN, and at the end, you repeat the words "screw Flanders" over and over again.
Brittany Murphy's character and her dad had like a creepy relationship. Yeah. That scene where he comes in, he's just found out that, you know, they're killing virgins. Like, oh, how far have you gone? Could you go further? Or the bleh, like, that just made me want to fucking out. Like, disgusting.
Have you gone further than that? Listen, I wouldn't ask you this unless it was absolutely necessary. Can you go further?
There's a way of saying that and not that way he said
exactly like and I get the whole like he's trying not to freak her out, but as if that's not gonna freak her out, like fuck off.
Of course.
And there's also that part where they're running away from the teacher's house and they run into that cop, and the cop's just like, all right, well you do this, we just got to split, and then hit in the head with an axe. I was just like, oh god, that's just a bit too on the nose. There was barely even blood in this movie.
Yeah.
So as far as a horror movie, I mean, that's got to left me wanting when it came to sort of the gore aspect of the movie. Some of the transitions were hilarious. You mentioned right at the end where the water turns red. I mean, you know what that reminded me of? Reminded me of I Know Who Killed Me. With like the red and the blue and this signifies this, and yeah, just terrible. But it was just, for the most part, it was just like mainly hard to watch because there's just a bunch of actors fumbling around trying to make sense of a terrible fucking script.
Hate, double hate, loathe entirely.
I'll touch on the father-daughter relationship, you know, when she's learning to do self-defense and they're sort of sparring.
Yep.
And
then you brought that up.
He's on top of her when they fall on each other, and then it looks like they're about to kiss, but then the phone call saves them, and they both kind of look away. And I was like, that's weird.
Take 5, champ.
Okay. Hello.
Wanna have a little fun?
I think the issue with this movie, which it's not the actor's fault, it's just this thing in the 90s and the 2000s where a lot of horror movies just aren't dark enough to start with. Like that scene behind me is quite lit. The scene is way too bright to be actually genuinely scary.
Yeah.
So I think if it was like a bit darker in scenes, it would have just, you know, been a bit more like a bit of a mystery and get your heart racing a bit more in that setting.
Keep that up, Rod, and it will be your last act.
One scene that irked me, and I don't know if I missed it, I don't think I did. So when Brittany Murphy's talking to the killer in the office, they're you know, talking back and forth, and then she says to him, oh, I think I just saw someone in the hallway. I don't think we ever got a shot of someone in the hallway walking past or any inkling that someone was there. So it was very odd. She just got up, or he got up, and then they just both walked out to try and find this supposed person that she saw. But there was no reference for us to be like, oh yeah, we saw it as well. So I thought that was there was like an off-screen addition that we never saw.
No monsters, honey. Just some wadded up tissues and a book of crime scene photos.
I hated the teacher character. Like, yes, we all know why, but I just love the fact that in the movie, when he's like explaining the whole thing about like 25 years ago, this happened, and he's like, oh yeah, my mum became a total psycho because she was raped. I'm like, yeah, no fucking shit. And then the whole explanation that like, we're gonna rob all the wealthy parents and their precious virginal children. I'm like, it is so fucking weird, especially in a TV movie, just to hear that. It honestly feels like an episode of Riverdale. And yes, I will bring that up because I think Riverdale actually takes a lot of inspiration from this little TV movie, especially when it comes to like season 4, season 5. It's this part at the end, just before the shot of the waterfalls turning red, which I don't know what the fuck is going on with the color grading, but it's like what's her name again? Jodie sees someone that looks like Laura Lee Sherman and then just disappears behind the school bus, and I'm like, okay. Like it reminds me a little of like Disturbing Behavior or Urban Legend, where it's like, oh no, the killer actually survived. Oh wait, no, they didn't, lol. Like, I don't know. I just didn't really like that. My main gripe with this movie is just some of the editing choices. Insert Tatiana Choices clip here. But, you know, just things like the like the transitions. You know, you brought up a few, Coop. For me, I'm just like, this doesn't even read TV movie. This reads amateur short film. And I don't know why I thought of this. This has no relation to the movie whatsoever, but just like the level of production quality, it reminds me of that clip on Family Guy where Lois is like, oh, I did an art film in college. And it's like the clown flipping the pancake in black and white.
Yeah.
And she's like half naked or whatever. But yeah, there's just a lot of things with this movie doesn't make sense, and it pains me because I'm trying to defend it because I do actually like this movie to a degree. It's just like, why does it have to be so 2000s?
I'm sold 3008, you sold 2000 and late.
Towards the start of the movie, when her dad gets the call out for the, I think it's the first murder.
Is she sleepwalking?
She's like sleepwalking and like at the window, like, Daddy, and then looks and stares right at the camera. It makes no sense whatsoever. That's another.
I thought he was gonna break the fourth wall.
Yeah.
He'd be like, Cherry Falls.
Yes.
Cherry fucking Falls.
Cherry motherfucker Falls.
Oh, sorry, I have one more complaint.
Please go.
Brittany Murphy's hair in this, I fucking hate it. It's a very superficial complaint. I think of Brittany Murphy as long blonde hair. You know, there's an actress, she's in Riverdale, obviously. What's her name? Lily Reinhardt. She's also in Hustlers and a bunch of other movies no one's ever seen. Like, I love her. She reminds me of like Brittany Murphy now. And so looking back, I'm like, why did they give Brittany Murphy, one of the most like beautiful women of all time, such an ugly haircut? It pisses me off.
Scream 3 fucking shit.
Yes.
I mean, that's still to this day one of the worst haircuts.
Okay.
Bit of trivia here. There's not heaps, but yeah, a couple of points here. As you may know, it was never released theatrically in the US due to controversy surrounding the Columbine High School massacre and complaints about violence in movies featuring teenagers. It was then released as a made-for-TV movie on USA Network with several explicit scenes cut. So I'm assuming that what I've seen is just the TV version. It didn't seem any different from the old DVD version that I had, way back in the day. I sincerely doubt that those scenes would have made it any better.
Everything dry and meaningless and hopelessly empty.
Some hostility on the set. Geoffrey Wright and Jay Mohr didn't get on after the former demanded a flexible schedule from all the actors. There were also clashes between him and the crew, with cinematographer Anthony B. Richmond walking off set for 2 days because he felt Wright was using too much blood for a scene, which is hilarious because there's like no blood in the movie.
Yeah.
That is fucking wild.
There will be blood.
Really?
No, not really.
Trouble production. They only had 30 days to film everything and quickly fell behind schedule and budget, with writer Ken Selden describing the set as tense. Although they had permission to film at the Thomas Jefferson High School in Richmond during Easter break, they weren't informed that the school was usually used during the holiday by GSGIS, a regional program for the gifted, and neither were the latter. As the two schools were on different schedules, the GSGIS students were released from class after the filmmakers had blocked the hallways and locked the doors, which is pretty full on. To make matters worse, when the GSGIS administration was provided with the movie's plot, as were the concerned parents in a letter, they failed to mention that it was satirical, resulting in the school board getting bombarded with complaints from parents who thought pornographic films were being shot on school property. Because of censorship troubles in the wake of the Columbine massacre, it ended up released as a television movie with significant edits, though did enjoy theatrical release in the UK and Europe. Geoffrey Wright did at least win an award for Best Director, don't know why, and Brittany Murphy was nominated for Best Actress at the Fangoria Awards in 2001. So there you go. Apparently there was also a lot of backlash from the town that they were filming in. And there was actually, I think, some protests and that kind of thing with that going on. So like nobody around the area was happy that this movie was being made, and there was a lot of backlash towards it. And it sounds like even when they were making it, there was issues there. So yeah, troubled production 101.
Quick, we need to think of a comeback. Hey! Shut up!
Apparently the original script was far more comedic and obviously satirical, but Geoffrey Wright thought the subject matter should be treated more seriously. While he kept most of the satire in the script, he increased the horror elements. Where? Sorry, it just feels like we're just shitting on Geoffrey Wright now. I'm sorry, Romper Stomper was good, but this is bad. This is bad. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, unless either of you have any other trivia you've been able to locate.
Sorry, my computer did freeze for a bit. Did we mention the part about David Lynch?
No. Take it away.
So David Lynch was offered the script to direct, and while he said he liked it, he turned it down as he was in production on Mulholland Drive. The best movie of all time, obviously.
Where do you stand on that? Like, do you, because I know you're a big fan of the movie, do you sit up late at night wondering what that TV show could have been?
I do sometimes, but I also think it's David Lynch. It wouldn't have made sense anyway.
True.
Like I still think of Twin Peaks: A Return, and everyone glamours on about how great it was, and then other people glamour on about how annoying and frustrating it was, especially the final part of the final episode. And I just look at it and I'm like, it's David Lynch. Like, if it wasn't divisive, I'd be like, oh, is this really a David Lynch movie or TV show? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
But
fair enough.
I do think, because he never will explain what Mulholland Drive is about, etc. But the TV series, I think it would have answered some plot elements, but if you're someone like me who's watched the movie 50 times, you can fill in the blanks of where certain episodes were supposed to go.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I hope that I never see that face ever outside of a dream.
For ratings, I'm not going to give it much. I think that's blatantly obvious. I think you'd be surprised if I chucked to Justin and gave it 10 out of 10. I'm going to give it 3.5 rotten cherries out of 10. Like I said, it's really bad. It's not very good. No new ground was tread. No stars were made. No frights were delivered. No blood was shed. Yeah, it's just not very good at all. So yeah, 3.5 rotten cherries out of 10. Byron, rating.
Yeah, probably I'll go 3. Like I said, I really like that last 10-15 minutes, but that's not enough to make up for a 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
So that sounds about right. 3 out of 10. It's sad that it had production issues, and it's sad that a lot of these films that we do seem to have this production issue, and they just seem to just still release it anyway and not just spend some more money, just finesse it a bit more and make it somewhat more bearable. And it's not fair, to watch it twice and to really only enjoy the last, 1/8 of the movie, and the first, 7/8 kind of just agonize and get through it.
Yeah.
Brittany Murphy's really the only standout, and Ozzy Osbourne running is also really good. Yeah, but look, it's a campy film, but it's not for me. I'm sorry. So yeah, 3.
Justin.
I'm gonna give it 5 out of 10.
What?
I was gonna be a shit and be like 8.6. No. I'm gonna take off 5 points entirely for production, and actually no, let's go 4.5 out of 10. I'm gonna knock off another half a point for Brittany's bloody week, because that was fucking awful. But look, I do have a soft spot for this movie. I can't give it any lower than 4.5. So, yeah.
True.
I think seek this movie up.
Yeah.
I think just, even if you just want like a bad movie to watch, like I see this as something you watch with a group of friends. I say this every episode, but this is one where you get together with a group of friends and you go, what the fuck is happening on my screen right now?
This is a movie you'll see like at a Hoyts or something as like a horror re-screening. I can see this being one.
Yeah.
There's a fan base there somewhere. Brittany Murphy fans probably, but that's it. And maybe Ozzy Osbourne or Manson or some sort of
people that like really long hair and knives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or want to laugh like white chicks, so yeah.
Yeah. Before we wrap up this sordid ordeal, I'd like to thank my co-hosts Justin and Byron.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you, lurkers and eavesdroppers, for joining us for another episode. Want more? Of course you do. You gluttonous pig. Like, share, and subscribe. We have plenty to watch in our back catalogue and a whole lot more on the way. If you had a jolly time with us today, I'm glad to hear it. But if not,